Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, Twitch chat, and welcome back to Let Us Play. I'm your host, Father Evan. It's good to be back with y'all today. Slight change of plans in terms of what we're playing today. I think it's for the better. So we're going to be playing one of the Synaxarion games. I think this is a really cool series. We played the first one last year around this time, and that was set. It was like a game about Acts of the Apostles. We're going to be playing through these through Easter now. So we have three: Holy Martyr of Neophytos, Holy Martyr Savas the Goth, and Theodore of Tiro. So we'll be playing through those. Now, I had been talking about playing something that was kind of a nice counterpart to Sainthood, kind of like a counterbalance, actually. It was bad. It wasn't even funny bad. It was just bad. I originally had intended to play Church Simulator because I thought that would be funny and could talk about like, oh, they got this right. They got nothing right. I played it for like 5 minutes and it was just bad. It was tacky. So yeah, I would not recommend. Like, it wasn't even funny bad. It was just like, oh, this is just a. Yeah, it sounds like it could be funny, but it's if you know like the blank sim genre on Steam, that's just like Unity assets slapped together. It was like one of those where it's less like, oh, okay, you just no, not even atheisty. I mean, it was clear that they were very clearly not very church literate themselves, but just like anyone would just be like, this is just kind of weird. Like, it wasn't anti-church. Like, it wasn't actively trying to be against church, but it was just weird. Like, you had people ask you questions. They're like, oh, can I ask your advice? Is it a sin to kill a priest? What? That's not advice. You know, one of the parishioners wanted to know my skincare routine. It's like, and all the options were like, I bathe in holy water. And it's like, that's just weird. That's just weird. They made it weird. So do not recommend that game. Oh well. Can't win them all. But good to see you, Bad Roxy. Good to see you, Brayherd. And Bad Roxy, congratulations on winning the crown of Furstendom this day, which I suppose because we're going into a game about ancient Greek-speaking territories, it is the stemma. The stemma of the day. I had to look up what the Greek word for crown was. Apparently, it's stemma. But before we get started in on that, want to give a thank you and a shout out to Joe Luis Arena and Slendermonk06. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Hope you have a good time. All right. Will it load? Thinking about. Okay, it's loaded. Let's get into it. Digging this drum. I talked about Bad Roxy's crown. It's the stemma. In better news...
Neophytos, the wondrous ascetic and martyr, was truly a heavenly new plant, which is the interpretation of his name in the Greek language, and an evergreen tree that blossomed forth during the years of the profane emperors Diocletian and Maximian, 290. Hailing from Nicaea, he was the scion of wealthy and pious parents of noble birth.
Good actual voice acting.
This is his story. His father was called Theodore and his mother Florentia. The two of them were virtuous Christians and zealots of the faith. Neophytos emulated his parents' good example. As a result, from his early youth, moral excellence and virtue characterized his way of life. It indicated beforehand the interior state in which he would attain perfection. He loathed proud thoughts and boasting. For this reason, he did not wish to keep company with vainglorious and silly companions, but only with those who were humble-minded.
Oh, if he'd be my friend.
Such persons generally were often poor in this world's wealth. Neophytos was moved to compassion for them, and oftentimes distributed bread given to him by his parents for his own sustenance. Therefore, the thrice-blessed youth on many occasions went hungry. Such was the conduct of the enlightened and divine Neophytos from an early age.
It is an auspicious day, Step Zero. You've also ruined my joke for my, Rothida. It is, in fact, the day that the One Ring was thrown into the volcano. This is pretty. They really stepped up their assets this time around. Because previously it was all very blocky. Come quickly, water and milk is gushing from a rocket church. It's delicious. Come, drink your fill. Well, didn't expect that. Have you tasted it yet? The milk is the best I've ever had. So much water and milk. Okay, what? Okay. How can I, ask the biographer, recount his hidden and inexplicable life, which was truly marvelous. Oh, so we're actively playing as them. They've established who we are this time. That's kind of cool. Well, the ring wasn't thrown so much. Okay, but, you know, it got there.
How can I, asks the biographer, recount his hidden and inexplicable life, which was truly marvelous? Even in the first bloom of his youth, he wrought a wonder like unto that of Moses. On one occasion, the goodly Neophytos was in the company of other children. He was then only 9 years of age in the flesh, but an old man in understanding. Neophytos uttered a prayer at the door of the church and struck a rock with one finger. Straightway, O thy boundless power, Logos, as though a spring were sealed and then opened, a vast supply of water and milk poured forth. Later, great crowds were able to partake and quench their thirst. The drink from that rock was extraordinary. The children satisfied both their souls and bodies, so that they ate and drank nothing else. As for the humble-minded Neophytos,
yeah, I'll fix the audio after this cutscene.
He became vainglorious on account of this mysterious and exceptional wonder. Neither did he ask of his companions any wage or money for that excellent draught. He did, however, ask that they not report what had taken place. Howsoever carefully the blessed youth attempted to conceal this virtue and excellence, so much more did the Lord make him known in every place, and reveal what was hidden and unknown.
Okay, there are no volume options. I was hoping for a volume option to, because the voice actor is a little quiet as well. No idea who he is, Step Zero, but you're right. He's good. Let's go back to the title scene, see if there's a audio. Nope. Sometimes this game is a little bare bones. But that was interesting. story of the milk and water coming from the church, specifically because there is a church. We know house churches were a thing in the early church, and we have lots of examples. There's a great one in Edessa. But obviously, within the empire, it wasn't allowed until after the legalization with the Edict of Milan in 313. This is supposedly taking place about 23 years before that. So it's interesting that in this part of the world, of the Roman Empire, that they could actually have a physical church. Oh, we've got some auto jumping now. Oh no! I fell. I was trying to play Assassin's Creed instead of Synaxarion and I fell. Excuse me, my manners escape me. It has been long since I've spoken to anyone outside my skeet. Skeet is a kind of monastery. I was bade to come to Nicaea and leave a lot of silver coins that an elderly penitent had left for us. Lord forgive me, I have dropped every last one. It seems on my way down the road, a little devil popped a hole in my sack. The coins dropped one by one without me noticing until now. I've reached my destination without a coin on me. If perhaps you see any silver coins with the Elder's Mark, please bring them to me. Christ will reward you now and in the next life tenfold. Okay, so we have a side quest. I was worried I got stuck there. The studio behind this is three brothers, one of whom convert or reaffirmed later. Bio is unclear. Yeah. So the original Synaxarion I bought on the Switch. They've definitely improved a lot between the first one and this one. Like, for example, the presence of voice acting. Oh, please, sir, if you can. I've come to church and am completely ill-prepared. The walk back to my home is too much for my weakened state. I've forgotten my prayer book and my bundles of beeswax candles. If you happen to pass my house, please grab them for me. It is west of here, in front of the planting fields. I left my belongings around the house and on the upper porch. What is this game? It is called Synaxarion. Is the series. This one is about the holy martyr Neophytos. They're kind of a little 3D platformer game, nothing too complicated, where you explore stories of early saints. So the first one was all about like Acts of the Apostles. Ah. Oh, that jump is a little awkward. There are no speedruns listed. I am shocked. What? Why did I slide off? If you're going to show me that there's a way up, I'm going to think that there's something hidden up there. There we go. Oh dear. Oh dear. I just clipped through that door on the upper level, and now I am below everything. I think I got stuck. Thankfully, they have that button. Yeah, I found my way into the different part of the courtyard. There are other games leaning into we have exit home. Well, I knew they had a Zelda-like. That's all I know. Everybody eat a big lunch and feel evil leaving your body. Oh, that texture was having a day. Oh, it can't decide which kind of roof it wants to be. Tiles are going left to right. Tiles are going up and down. Tiles are going left to right. Tiles are going up and down. Okay, it looks like the other side quest is on the other side of this pond. How did this monk drop these coins all over the place like this? It's a mess. Wooden crosses left behind from prisoners being picked up. Gather them, bring them to me. Your clear conscience will be your reward. Not sure how that clears my conscience, but okay. Last Dragon Slayer looks like it could be, well, a Dragon Quest game, an Eternal Edge, and a Simple Life full screen pastoral Final Fantasy. Well, I might check them out at some point. I have solved this tricky switch puzzle. I'm guessing this is the governor's mansion. Up here. 8th Millennium War Against the Pagan Gods. That's a title. Wait. No, fall down the hole. I'm sure it's fine. See? It's fine. Okay, so she said west, so that's actually the other side. Because I don't know if I'll do all the coins and the crosses, but I think I can find a prayer book and a candle bundle at this woman's home before we continue with the main plot. They're remaking the Acts of the Apostles one. Okay. Four upcoming. That's awesome. When I played the first Synaxarion last year, that was the only one mentioned in any capacity. Beyond the fact that they were like, yeah, we want to do this as a series. Well, I found where the music stops. Yeah, this tree is just like, nope. Nope. Oh, I don't have the Christina of Tyre one. I didn't know that one existed. I have I obviously have the Theodore, but I have Savas and Tyro. Actually, Apostles 1 and 2, well, that's good, because they did just kind of end on, well, they ended on Pentecost, so actually the Apostles is technically done, but, like, I imagine they're going to move into more of the hagiography and mythos of the Apostles afterward. Patrick, Enlightener of Ireland. No, Patrick, that's modalism. Nicholas the Wonder Worker could actually be a really interesting one. Don't hang on their banister like that. Okay, this is a beautiful prayer corner. This is a little historically inaccurate because a prayer corner like this with icons wouldn't have existed at this time. But now his mother Florentina beheld and revealed what was hidden and unknown.
Now his mother Florentia beheld and revealed what was hidden and unknown. She beheld a mysterious dream, which revealed the virtue of the child and his uncommon achievements. His mother was in such a state of wonder regarding her child that she was at a loss how to understand what she beheld and what it might portend. Was it real, or was it an apparition or a phantom? She therefore entreated the Lord with tears, uttering such words as these: Master and God, who
That's
knows
a
all
7th
things
century
before they
icon
come
at
to
Mount
pass,
Sinai.
and who foreordains what comes to be. Reveal the vision to me that I might comprehend its meaning, so as to know the future progress of my child. So spoke Florentia, and the all-good God who works wonders and extraordinary signs, so as to affirm the truth of our belief, and entices us to what is to our benefit, hearkened to her prayer. For she had beheld a dove, verily having wings but gold on the broad of its back. She had also observed that it entered into Neophytos' chamber, and flew around the bed, and then sat upon it. Florentia was amazed at what she witnessed, and was sure that such a dove was not some irrational creature, but instead a divine visitation and heavenly promise. She then received an explanation when she spoke to the dove as though it were innately rational. For what reason hast thou perched upon the bed of the lad? The dove replied, Oh, the miracle! In a human voice, saying, The Holy Spirit sent me to hover over the bed of Neophytos, so that I should cast out every assault of the enemy and preserve his bedding pure and blameless. As Florentia clearly heard this divine voice, an ineffable light descended, so that she could not bear it. It was as if a great bolt of lightning had struck her. She had become so stirred at the sights and sounds about her that she fell to the ground and expired. I think, writes the biographer, that she beheld a vision of angels. Their intense light and sublime majesty were too much for her to endure and understand. Thus she remained without breathing and speaking. She was discovered by the neighbors, who determined that she had expired. Since that could not know what was about to take place, they carried on with the customary preparations for burial. Now Neophytos in no wise grieved for the death of his mother, but rather was happy and would not leave them to inter her. He insisted that they cease grieving and said, Leave her until my father should come. Then a man, a friend of Theodore, named Levadios, who was a leader of the Senate, sent a message to Theodore of the sudden and unexpected death of his wife.
Well, that was an unexpected twist of the story, and I feel like it's going to get more unexpected. Hey, you're going on the retreat. Hey, I hope you have a great time, Mel. Prayers definitely for you. Now, there's some really interesting stuff going on there, theologically, that I think is worthwhile to break down. Um, I mean, it's a classic example of sort of a heavenly vision with the dove and the blinding lights. But the thing that's really interesting is that whole focus on the innate rationality. That is something you find as a very core concept in Byzantine anthropology. And what I mean by that is that Byzantine, the Eastern Church, so Orthodoxy, Eastern Catholicism, and when we talk about anthropology in the church, it's kind of like the secular field of anthropology, but it's more like what are the theological implications about human beings and God, vis-a-vis sort of our innate natures, and especially looking at like the overlaps and the parallels, the way that God has imbued His image upon us, and in the East, rationality, the ability to have rational thought, rational conversation, is such a thing that demarcates a human being against any other living being, and is seen as being related to the divine. The West, we would agree for sure that it is a divine gift, but the East, they put, I would say, a greater spiritual emphasis on it. So I think that's a really cool and interesting thing to see with the dove, where she's like, she innately knows, she talks to it as a knowing it's a rational being. Like, that says a lot about what the dove actually is vis-a-vis as an angel, as a messenger of God, and not just a dove that flew in. So I feel like there's something else in the conversation there that I want to talk about, but I can't remember. That's not west. Just found the beeswax bundles. This is not west. Well, it might actually be. I never really established what north was. I went with a gaming mindset and said, up must be north on the map. Man, the trees really don't like the music. Saving that for out of context later. I don't think context helps. I know I said I wasn't going to find everything, but I do want to find a lot of things because I like finding collectibles. I believe Mel's retreat is a women's vocational discernment, so retreat, so like discerning sisterhood or married life. I could be wrong, so I'll let Mel definitely say what it's about. Is that how? Yeah, okay. We have to get across that arch safely. This is where a good analog controller would come in handy. Dang it. But it said that controllers don't work. Almost there. Almost there. We made it. At last. What took you so long? Excuse me. Thank you. I will light a candle for you. Icon, Saint Diomedes the Physician. I'm not familiar with Saint Diomedes. So, what we doing out here in the fields, Neophytos? Theodore had been in a field.
Theodore had been in a field. When he heard the mournful news, he ran toward the city. He was in great distress and anguish as copious tears streamed down his face. As he was on the road, he was met by Levadios, who attempted to console him lest he should become embittered. When Neophytos caught sight of his father approaching their home, he went forth and said, "Cease sorrowing, father, that mother has finished her course. For even though she appears to be dead to those present, yet I am able with divine help to raise her up." Neophytos then returned to the house. He took the hand of his dead mother and said, "Rise up, O mother, for as much as the Lord has willed it, thou hast slept enough." Oh, the exceptional wonder-working! How wonderful and awesome was the appearance of our Savior Jesus Christ, who brought death to naught and brought to light life and incorruption through the gospel. Before the divine took on flesh, Hades was terrifying to us, and death was not to be evaded. But after the death of the immortal one, death was put to death, and Hades was despoiled of those held captive. Thus the souls of Florentia, upon hearing the command of Neophytos, returned speedily to her body. She awakened as one from sleep and recounted her vision to Theodore. When she began speaking of the dove, all present then beheld that very dove above the bed of Neophytos, commanding him to depart, as once did the patriarch Abraham. He was bade to leave all earthly things and kinfolk and go after the true land and everlasting life. Now this voice the bystanders also heard, but only the pious, those acquainted with divine operations, believed the words. Neophytos thereupon bade them farewell and kissed them sweetly. These supernatural occurrences became the talk of the blind and mindless idolaters, some of whom, that is, those who thought more deeply and were noble-minded, converted from
That looks
their
AI.
ancestral impiety and came to believe in the Christ and receive baptism. The highly exceptional Neophytos took to heart all that had transpired, and also heard of the conversions. He believed it was God's will that he had conceived the desire to go to Olympos, which is a mountain near Nicaea. It is a wilderness place, inspiring awe and wonder, and is the home to earthly angels and the most holy of men. Now Neophytos was only a 10-year-old lad when he left the city to go to Olympos.
going to Mount Olympus. Yeah, I'm not surprised Wikipedia doesn't have a ton. There are a non-insignificant amount of early saints, especially martyrs, where there's just like a lot of them. And it's just, there's not actually like a lot of information. Although that gives me an idea. Hold on one moment. I have the prologue of Orid. This is literally the resource for this. So you said January 21st. Let's see. Oh, well, may not be a bunch. Yeah, there's January 21st is the Venerable Maximus the Confessor, Maximus the Greek, and then Holy Martyr Neophytos. Yeah, the Crusader Kings part is both funny and accurate. But this is what the prologue of Orid has to say about the Holy Hieromartyr Neophytos of Nicaea died 305. Neophytos was born in Nicaea of Christian parents at the beginning of the reign of Diocletian, approximately 290. When he was a child, he worked great miracles by the grace of God. He brought forth water from a rock and raised his dead mother. He was led by a white dove to Mount Olympus, where he drove well, I don't want to spoil this, because this is going to get exciting. Spoilers! Well, fortunately, I stopped before any of the actual spoilers. That happened over 1 million years ago. Spoilers bans don't apply. Oh, yeah? Then can you tell me what we're about to do at Mount Olympus? I lied. Actually, I didn't lie. I just changed my mind. We're so close on the coins. Gives you it does have kind of that Lego game vibe. I think it's the proportions of the people. Well, that's a Colosseum. I was expecting a governor's mansion up here. It's a shame to see youth wasted in this way, but necessary to keep the peace. I think we're going to be coming back this way soon. And I don't know how to get up on that wall, so I don't think we're going to get the crosses. But again, so close on the coins. But yeah, I like this town. I think it's well designed. In the previous game, like going to the different cities felt very... They felt very empty. Like, there were maybe a few buildings. But... You know, this one's... It's twisting, it's winding. It feels like a real ancient city. Not that I've ever lived in an ancient city, mind you, but... Straight up on him on an Orthodox page, had a line that unintentionally hilarious. The attempted execution method. Yeah, that happens sometimes with the saints. Cave dweller Abba Anthony said to Abba Poemon, "This is a great work of a man. Always take the blame for his own sins before God, and to expect temptation to his last breath." That does sound like something Anthony of the Desert would say. Oh, hello. A hesychist. It's a term for monk. Sure, bits of the Vatican counts as ancient. Yeah, it's complicated. A lot of the ancient stuff's been built over. The current St. Peter's was completed... Well, it was completed in the medieval age, but I think the original building that they extended dates back to like 1100s. Abba Anthony said, "Our life and our death is with our neighbor. If we gain our brother, we have gained God. But if we scandalize our brother, we have sinned against Christ." I like that way of putting it. Reminder that salvation is not a me alone or me and God kind of thing. Abba Anthony said, "I saw the snares that the enemy spread over the world, and I said, groaning, 'What can get through from such snares?' Then I heard a voice saying to me, 'Humility.'" Is it true that wealthy Texas oil man helped find St. Peter's tomb? I don't think so, because the church is built on... Like, the altar is centered right over the tomb. And there's the whole Scavi excavation underground. Like, uncovering the Scavi may have been funded, but... It's not like it was lost, it's more just it was buried, and they needed help moving the dirt. At that time, Dev also accompanied the youth and guided him on the road.
At that time, the dove also accompanied the youth and guided him on the road until he arrived at the mount. After he made a tour of nearly all the cells of the fathers and received from each one counsel to his soul's benefit, Neophytos ascended a lofty height, a rock projecting into the air, which had a hollow in its side, something like a cave. The dove entered first and then Neophytos. Once inside, the holy youth encountered a fearsome lion, which was sufficient to strike terror in an army camp and cause all to scatter in fear and trembling. The saint, however, in no wise cowered, but rather he took hold of the beast by its mane and said, "Thou hast dwelt herein long enough. Give to me thy den and find another habitation, for thus it is commanded by the Holy Spirit." Then that wild beast, lo the miracle, as though it were a rational and cognitive man, rose up on its hind legs and kissed the chest of the youth, turning its head with much gentleness. After the animal licked Neophytos' feet, it swept the ground carefully. The creature then bowed its head in a gesture that seemed to say, "Pardon me," and then it departed to fulfill the saint's command. Neophytos lived there for 1 year, sustained on heavenly bread and supported by a divine spirit. For every day a holy angel came and brought him a fixed ration. At the close of 1 year, the angel, together with the food, gave the saint a book in which were written the following words: "Holy, holy, holy Lord of Sabaoth, thus I command thee, Neophytos, and enjoin. The number of thy parents' years approaches the end. Therefore, leave the mountain, and go to thy homeland for the maintenance of thine elderly parents. After thou hast given them burial, return again to me, thy heavenly Father. The blessed youth read what was written in the book, and understood that he was being commanded to descend the mount, to do which was as bitter as leaving paradise. At first, in his thoughts, he hesitated to comply and did not know whether to go or remain. He then thought better of it, after he pondered on the perils wrought by disobedience. He deemed it unseemly to disobey the divine command, so he descended the mountain, hoping in the Lord's providence that all would come about according to his holy will.
Imagine just like holding a lion and being like, "Nope, my cave, get out." I can imagine it. Yeah, especially because he's a 10-year-old kid. Just blank stare, like, "Yep, mine now." I love it. You imagine the funding or the drill? Yeah, definitely the funding would have been, but yeah, like it's very common for a lot of things in Rome to be built. I mean, it's a way cities are built in general, but like in Rome, you can go to scavies or excavations below a lot of churches. So there's obviously the one in St. Peter's where you can go down, and you can see actually the necropolis that is very well preserved. It was just buried. And there's some examples of Christian tombs. We know which one was the tomb of Peter, and it's like I said, it's directly below the main altar, which is more or less where it's always been. If you look at like plans of the other versions of St. Peter's, like it was pretty much built at the necropolis on the Vatican Hill, or at the base of the Vatican Hill. That's where it gets its name. Vatican was named after the hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome. So interesting thing in that cutscene that I want to talk about is no room with George Strake helped Pius the 10th, 12th determine which tomb exactly was Peter's. There you go. There you go. Pius the 12th. That was pretty recent. That was that was 20th century. Anyway, the opening of the book that Neophytos was presented with is interesting because it opened with "Holy, holy, holy, Lord Sabaoth." That's the start. We call it the Hosanna in English, or Holy, Holy. Oh yeah, no, it's a huge dig. It's a huge dig site. Don't get me wrong. But like, it's very well preserved, and it's all right there. It's not like they had to move St. Peter's Basilica 5 miles to the west or something. But yeah, so we refer to that as the Hosanna. Sometimes in the East they refer to it as the Trisagion, the thrice holy hymn. We get that from a vision of angels before the throne of God in the Bible. It's actually a direct quote. So it always has had this sense of a liturgical role vis-a-vis worship, and how we've adapted it. But it's really interesting because the book is written from the perspective of God to Neophytos, and yet it has this line, which I'm not saying this is like to denigrate the story in any way, but that seems almost like a human addition to honor that they are about to have God's words in the story. Is St. Paul's tomb in existence? Yes. In fact, yeah, if you go to St. Paul's outside the walls, which is on the Appian Way, or the Way of the Bees, Bee Road, quite literally, it's where he was executed and buried. And this is a recreation. I promise this is not the original. This is a recreation of the nameplate, essentially, on his tomb, And if you go to St. Paul's outside the walls, this is directly below the altar. They have this, they kind of have this notch in the wall, and then like just the bare dirt, and that's where the tomb is. So, if you go to St. Paul's outside the wall, you'll see this, but it's a little bigger in real life. I have all the props today, apparently. It's like you were made for these questions. I know. An Egyptian monk told me, after I'd established in my heart the remembrance of death whenever need arose, and I wanted to comfort the clay a little, his remembrance prevented me like a judge. And the wonderful thing was that, even though I wanted to thrust it away, I was unable to do so. The clay he spoke of is his body. I do appreciate the emphasis on Egyptian monks at this point. Because that's where monasticism really got started. So, do you need special permission to stand in line or have to see the tomb? There is... if you're in the... So if you're in St. Peter's, and I'll get back to the Rotterdam in a moment. You're back from the dentist! Well, is it 2:30 already? There's what's known as a scavi, and you've seen this actually in my Minecraft church, if you've watched that. It's that sort of thing in front of the main altar where it goes down underneath. That is a... That is kind of a spot to show a particular relic, and you can kind of see the tomb from there. It's better if you go to the crypt level, which I believe you can just get into by walking around. It's been a while. If you want to go to the actual scavi, that is a ticket that you have to book in advance. It costs extra. So that's just a thing. Trying to think. St. Paul's is much simpler. It's just in the Confessio, but the Confessio is like really shallow. So you just see it. Just act like you belong there. Surprisingly, that would actually probably work for a lot of the Vatican, but there are certain parts where it wouldn't. There are parts where the Swiss Guard do want to see your tickets. So, Rotterdam. The Swiss Guards walk over real quick. Yeah, exactly. Rotterdam. Well, the joke is ruined. I can't make the joke about it being the day that the ring... being a celebration that the day the ring was destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. But it is, in fact, the Annunciation, the day that the angel Gabriel came to Mary and was like, hey, you want to be the God of... you want to be the mother of God? She was like, I guess? No, she was much more confident than that, but, you know, that's not funny for the bit. Honestly, just so much that we could always reflect on, but I think there is a sort of sublime beauty to the fact that it will always be in Lent. And sort of this juxtaposition of Christ's, preparing to commemorate Christ's death, alongside, his conception. want to meet the Swiss Guard, you show up to the Pope's bedroom at 3 a.m. They'll be happy to introduce themselves. I don't think they'd introduce themselves. I think they'd introduce you to other, like, their fists, but yes, unless it's on Good Friday, which has happened on occasion. See that holy man atop that pillar? Is it Simeon? That's where he lives. Can you believe that? He never comes down from there. Hasn't come down for 10 years. That's what you call a stylite. Up there, he has one focus, to pray to God. Extraordinary. Yeah, stylites are a subclass of fools for Christ. The most notable is Simeon the stylite, although there are others. Simeon lived in it's not I forget where. It's somewhere in modern day Syria. It's not a city that exists anymore. But anyway, he lived up there. Not only was it prayer, but he also preached to people because he was in the middle of the like shopping area, like the market. They have their arms crossed. That's off duty. I have not heard that, but I can see that being some sort of code. So how do I get up there? Anchorites? No, those are monks who serve on boats. Good to see you, Trekkie. Music is overrated anyway. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no, I'm stuck. I'm unstuck. Gale has redeemed a father joke. Oh. I had one prepared earlier today. Oh man, I should start writing these down or something, because sometimes I come up with one and like it's an original. I'm like, oh, that'd be pretty funny, and then it's like nothing. Feel like Father may or may not be telling the truth about the anchorites. I am not. Who are the people that you were hiding from? What? What people am I hiding from? Well, I can't remember the one I came up with, which is a shame, because I think he would have actually laughed, Gale, but here's one for you anyway. You know, Firstner came up to me the other day after Mass and said to me, "Hey, Father, someone out there thinks you look like an owl." Which I said, "Who?" Neophytos enters Nicaea.
Neophytos then entered into Nicaea. He went to his parents, to whom he ministered in accordance with the divine ordinance. He in no wise relaxed his ascetic conduct of life, nor did he leave off his remembrance of God. Even as St. Paul wrote, Neophytos could say with him, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ liveth in me, and the life that I now live in the flesh, I live in faith. As it was foretold to him, he buried his parents. He then set about distributing the estate to the poor. Neophytos then returned to the mountain and resumed his former life, which was equal to that of the angels. Thus, we have now spoken a little about the accomplishments of Neophytos in his youth and ascetic contests. Now let us speak of his toilsome life and martyric bouts, for which he received a rich reward and became the recipient of a double crown, that is to say, of asceticism and the martyric contest. At that time, Diocletian and Maximian, the Antichrist emperors, were reigning. They posted to the province of Bithynia one harsh and inhuman governor named Maximus. Even his appearance was ferocious, and his way of thinking more beastly than that of the beasts. The tortures he inflicted upon the Christians were savage and merciless. He sent little children to be burned to death, or cut up into small pieces, or to be drowned at sea. In his evil and perverse mind, he was seeking new ways and means, together with unspeakable machines and appliances of punishment, to put to death the soul before the body. By these means, that most vile man was able to vanquish some by the employment of the harshest tortures imaginable, and bring them to offer incense to the senseless idols. Such persons preferred, alas, temporal life and everlasting torments rather than the everlasting kingdom and life, for which preference the profane Maximos honored them with the rewards of corruptible wealth and soon withering glory. But there were others who readily gave over their flesh to diverse torments and 10,000 punishments. These all-wise contestants chose to disdain transitory prosperity, that they might enjoy the everlasting good things. An angel from on high then came to Neophytos. He relayed his commission from God, which was a command that Neophytos enter far-famed Nicaea to participate in a soul-saving martyrdom.
Well, I have a feeling that will be the end. Not much to say about a martyr after, you know, the martyrdom. Here's one coin there. And okay, those are the last two coins. Whoa. Neophytos, I appreciate your family's devotion and decoration, but it does make the platforming a little hard. Thank God. Every last coin, a miracle. Please do take this icon with you. It's all I have to give. St. Macarius of Jerusalem. I know the name, but I don't know anything about him off the top of my head. But I'll be honest, if anyone was willing to give me an icon at any point, I'd probably just go, yes, thank you. I quite like icons. Not only do I think they are beautiful, I think they have a beautiful theology and spiritual practice with them. Okay, let's try not to fall into the void this time. Mission accomplished. I know these games are just three brothers working together on it, but I still find certain parts where the things, like the music just disappears a little funny. Burb. Oh! Why don't we know anything about the rest of Neophytos' story? Oh, his biographer fell off a cliff. Thank you for the lure, Cope. This looks like a rough platformer. Yeah! The platforming's not really the point in some ways, I guess. Like, it is just side quest stuff, and I can't imagine it changing the ending. I mean, they're trying to teach a certain historical hagiographic ending, so, you know, multiple endings just wouldn't make sense. Let's get that. That one is a little easier. Maybe that's a trick. Maybe I just go this way. Looks like it's too tall, though. Okay, sure. We found the cross. I'll take it. I guess. Can you not move the camera? If I can, they have not told me how. And I don't think I can. It said listen, but also go into the building, and I did both, and now we're here. Oh, there we are. There's a lot of bears. Yeah, it really did just turn into a Zelda game. Wow! Ow. I don't have a health system, but that certainly hurt. What? How am I supposed to... I can't hold on to this thing. Also, I didn't know the ancient Romans had levitation technology, so that's cool. No, magnets on rails. That's levitation. Neophytos hastened eagerly, taking the helmet of salvation and the sword of the spirit.
Neophytos hastened eagerly, taking the helmet of salvation and the sword of the spirit. Then suddenly, as lightning, he leaped into the theater and was as radiant as the sun. All who beheld him were astonished at the unexpected sight of this dazzling and beardless youth. The tyrant interpreted his presence as a desire to sacrifice to the idols. But afterward, when he heard Neophytos censuring the ignorance and vanity of idol worship and preaching Christ as true God, the wretched Maximos was infuriated and threatened to chastise Neophytos harshly if he did not quickly offer sacrifice. The wise Neophytos laughed and said, "Is not thine own perdition enough, O Maximos? Must thou, O ignorant one, constrain with violence even the wise to participate in thy deception?" The tyrant's anger waxed so hot that he forgot to take pleasure in the festal events planned that day in the theater. Putting aside the day's program, he ordered that Neophytos be stripped naked and suspended from a rope. He then bade his executioners to scrape and flay the Christian's flesh and to administer a pitiless thrashing. These orders were carried out. Behold the profound perseverance of the martyr. He received 500 blows from rods. He was taken down and subjected to further scraping and carving of his bodily members. Then the executioners applied vinegar and salt to his wounds, so as to usher in bitter pain. The saint kept praying to Christ to enlighten the Greek pagans, that they might come to piety and thirst for their salvation. As for himself, the saint did not leave off teaching them. He continued preaching and saying, "Men, brothers, neglect not your salvation, but come to know that there is one true God who made man, whom he made anew with his taking on of flesh. Do not therefore be venerating the wicked demons who are leading you into everlasting punishment, but leave the darkness and the guileful and vain demons and come forth to the light. Do not fear Maximus, neither his craftiness nor beastliness. Cower not before the various torments, for the Master Christ shall stand by you and empower you. He shall lighten the pains of the punishments and prepare for us everlasting blessedness." These and many more counsels were uttered by the saint. For the sake of brevity, we cannot impart all that he said, but we will say that he urged those godless men to come to repentance. He exhorted them not to offer sacrifice to the lifeless images or the demons that dwell in them. He spoke of the incarnation and redemption. As for the unfit governor, it was observed that his rage increased against the lover of Christ. The tyrant therefore ordered worse torments. Whatever flesh remained from the previous torture was to be scraped with iron claws. This detestable mutilation was carried out, leaving exposed the bones on each side of the martyr. Now some of the Greek pagans, observing this extreme maiming, approached and thought to offer their sympathy, saying, "Take pity on thy youth, O Neophytos, and offer sacrifice to the gods that thou mayest be delivered from these fearsome tortures." The saint, rather than suffering from his bodily wounds, was more pained over their soul-injuring counsel. He thereupon wished to show he had overcome the punishment and eagerly sought martyrdom, and began saying, "I have sacrificed my flesh to God, and I also wish to offer a sacrifice of praise. I desire to render my prayers to the Most High, who became incarnate for the sake of his many tender mercies, and who was crucified of his own will, that he should bring to naught and utterly destroy the abominations of the idols before which you, as those without sense, fall down and worship. As the Almighty One, he has put an end to your repugnant and profane sacrifices."
Iron Maidens were never actually used. Yeah, scene has a lot going on as it's just a beautiful witness of Martyr, but also, interestingly enough, there are certain parallels, and again, this doesn't diminish it, but, you know, you'll find stories wherein, you know, martyrs throughout their martyrdom are preaching, and it's this way in which we really do understand God's grace, and this is at the heart of the death and resurrection of Christ, is the way that God's grace can transform something and transform us and take even something so vile and turn it into a moment of saying, no, there is something greater, there is life, there is goodness, and it's that juxtaposition, that paradox, that is part of our Christian faith. The words of the martyr inflamed the tyrant.
The words of the martyr inflamed the tyrant, to the extent that he bade his men to exchange the iron claws for cutting instruments, which were able to cut through bone, not only the martyr's ribs, but his hands and feet also. Thus, the torturers were able to render damage and dismember all bodily members, leaving nothing
What is that even supposed to
uninjured.
be?
The heinous atrocities that were performed left the martyr a most pitiable sight. The mindless tyrant, however, still attempted to pervert the martyr's resolve by flatter and promises of honors and gifts without number. The saint, not heeding Maximos's words in the least, gave forth the appropriate answer, saying, "I am ready to undergo, and happily, tens of thousands of deaths for the sake of Christ. I therefore tell thee not to entertain any hope that I might deny piety for temporal pleasure and enjoyment, or out of fear of punishments, even if they were more harsh than what has already been done." The tyrant, as a result, gave up in despair. He was saddened and depressed because he was unable to vanquish, with so many methods of torture, one beardless boy. The governor kept going over in his mind what he might execute next. It then came into his mind to inform the emperors regarding this case, so that they too might also wonder at this monstrous report. He therefore submitted a description of all events and sought their guidance on how to proceed. The emperors, upon receiving Maximos's account of the proceedings, wrote back that the prisoner should be cast into a fiery furnace. The ferocious Maximos did not wish to put the martyr to a quick death, but rather ordered that there be a great celebration and that costly, sweet-smelling spices be offered to the gods.
Smealing. Little typo there. I will admit I don't like their use of AI, but that's just my personal preference, so. Yes, I understand that there's a chest there. Oh, there's another door.
It can be useful.
That one felt obvious. In retrospect. Okay, the switch, it does nothing. Looks like it's supposed to, like, maybe fill up with water? I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Just curiosity, I was wondering if maybe the switch opened up a door in here to get through, and the answer is no. Well, we got 23 of the wooden crosses, so that's pretty good. And we got all the coins. Thus, great amounts of incense were brought to the place of sacrifice.
Thus, great amounts of incense were brought to the place of sacrifice. Maximus
this
thought
art. What
that
is this
perhaps
supposed
the
to depict?
saint might change his mind and venerate the idols. The sacrifice was to take place at the Pillar of Hercules, a gymnasium filled with statues of the emperors. The abominable altar was decorated according to pagan taste when the martyr was brought forth. Maximos incited the young martyr to sacrifice before the image of Hercules so that Neophytos might be endowed with strength. The martyr answered this ludicrous suggestion, saying, "I revere and pay homage to only one tri-hypostatic God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, to whom I solely offer sacrifice, not with oxen and bulls and birds."
Okay, he probably didn't say trihypostatic. That phrase doesn't become a thing for about another 25 years.
And humbled God will not despise. I offer to my God my entire self, that is, all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. As for your Hercules, I deem you deceived and unhappy, because you worship a dead and insensate idol. The tyrant finally perceived the immovable stance of the saint. So he ordered the firing of a great and terrifying furnace.
Mel, are you twitching? Are you okay? Is your boss gonna make an account and follow me? I don't think the bronze bowl would have been used, but the amount of wood thrown within could not be estimated.
The amount of wood thrown within could not be estimated. This stoking was followed by the saint being cast inside. The portal of the furnace was carefully shut off. It was decided that Neophytos would be left therein for 3 days, so that his bones would also be consumed. On the 3rd day, the impious were thinking that the martyr had been burned to ashes. They believed that the furnace had been extinguished, so they prepared to open its door. As this was done straightway, there leaped out from the furnace mighty flames which burned all those standing about. The saint, O heavenly might, O divine wonder-working, emerged from the fiery furnace healthy and uninjured. Not even one hair of his head or a thread of his garment had been singed. To the censure of the lawless, the martyr was chanting in a loud voice to the all-might God who works wonders. The tyrant, put to shame as one impotent and weak, then ventured to contrive another form of death.
Okay, we're up to 2 attempted martyrdoms on him. He was pretty flabbergasted. I'm pretty flabbergasted. Therefore, he who is more mindless than wild beasts ordered animals from the wild be brought forward.
Therefore, he who was more mindless than the wild beasts ordered animals from the wild.
See, again, there's
to
that
be
theme of
brought forward.
rationality.
Those animals were left 5 days without being fed anything. After this was done, the first creature set loose upon the martyr was a fierce bear. At first, it moved toward the saint, but then, as it drew closer, it began licking the martyr's feet. By the grace of God, the bear was made to forget its hunger and ferocity and behaved as a tame lamb. The tyrant then had a leopard released into the arena. In the same manner as the bear, it behaved gently as though it possessed a rational nature and kissed the martyr's feet. Even after this attempt failed, the tyrant loosed a ferocious lion against the saint.
Remember the lion?
But this was the very lion which had deferred to the divine Neophytos and left its den. As the lion came up to the saint, the creature recognized him and began ardently kissing his body. He shook his tail and then was seen leaping about, showing obvious signs of joy at the discovery of an acquaintance and friend. The saint then bade the lion to return to its old habitat, but without injuring any man on the way. Thus, the creature endowed with an irrational nature changed its wildness into rational understanding. As for the mindless and most profane Maximos, since he could succeed in no punishment against the martyr, he became more irrational than the wild animals. He commanded his soldiers to pierce the martyr's body all over with spits until he should surrender his spirit. When this was done, and Maximos observed that Neophytos, although filled with tormenting spits, still stood upright and fearless, he became so filled with wrath that he took hold of a spear and rushed against the holy Neophytos, penetrating his heart. In this manner, then, the adamantine man completed his martyrdom. He offered himself as an acceptable sacrifice, winning a double crown after struggling with the hardships attendant with asceticism and enduring the unspeakable tortures of the tyrant, including the bonds, iron instruments, mangling, wounds, fire, flayings, wild beasts, and spear. He went forth bearing crowns to the Lord, to whom is due glory, honor, and veneration to the endless ages. Amen.
That's a beautiful chant. I love the Byzantine style chant. There's that like droning sound, so it's like one or more members of the choir who sing in a sort of a droning way, monotone. That gives it a very particular character. It's a very beautiful way of doing it. I forget exactly what a polyptychion refers to, but plagal of the first tone is like the style. There's like preset tones, which is like the notation of the chant. You understand some of the words, or maybe know what it is in English, mostly. Right on. I recognize Alleluia and Hagio anytime the word holy is said. The word for drone is using. Ison. It's Ison. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. I think I could be an Ison chanter. But give thanks unto the God of gods. Alleluia. Amen. Oh, I think maybe this is this translation. I thought next would like move on to something else. That's why I didn't click it. Thou wast filled with divine grace from thine infancy, and thy youthful soul was a dwelling place of the Trinity. Thou didst work wondrous miracles, and wast steadfast in contest, O prize-winning Neophytos. Pray unceasingly that our souls may be saved. And then here's his kontakion. Alethekion is him at the dismissal at the end of liturgy. Ah, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to. There's kontakion. There's one more. There's probably one below this. Oh, great Martyr Neophytos, thou didst shine forth from the mountain, and as an athlete glorify Christ in the stadium, wherefore thou didst receive the unfading crown. Holy Martyr Neophytos, pray for us. Back! We're back just in time for us to see the hymns about his martyrdom. Neophytos is a great example for us all. He struggled as an athlete in the eternal marathon. He won his martyr's crown and is now in paradise. May we gain steadfast faith in Christ-like Neophytos. Yeah, I like where this series is going. I think this is an interesting way to kind of present some of these more as like little reflections. Paschal Servants chants recorded by St. George Orthodox Church Cathedral in Pittsburgh. Guy singing the Ison is now your parish's choir director. He's really good with church music. That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, I do think that this story clearly shows some hagiographic development in that, particularly the elements of his martyrdom may have been exaggerated, but that doesn't mean that his witness, and that's what martyr means, his witness, is by any means lesser. Um, so it's kind of cool to see these stories presented this way. Uh, Interesting little insights into the life of the church, life of individual saints, how it all fits together. So, is that anything important story-wise? Yeah, his martyrdom. Hey, reset. Yeah, kind of the grand conclusion, I'm afraid. Hope. But yeah, I enjoy these. I'm looking forward to playing the other 3. We'll do those over the next 3 weeks. Maybe even the next 4 weeks if I get the 4th one. I think that'd be a good sort of reflection leading into Easter for the rest of Lent. Lent is a great time to contemplate the mystery of martyrdom. Did you know the first French fries weren't actually cooked in France? They were cooked in Greece. Boo, I love it. I love it. So yeah. So these next few weeks, I think Spirituality Tuesday might be a little bit shorter. Just because these games are of different lengths. The first one was quite long, but it was like the whole of Acts of the Apostles. I think an individual story like this might be a bit shorter. Might be longer depending on how many scenes there are and what the story's like, so we'll just have to find out. But I think we're going to just kind of take it one at each time. So thank you so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. It's been good to be with y'all today and reflect on the life of Saint Neophytos, whose name Neophyte is the term we use for those who are newly baptized. Did I stop playing Ultima? Yeah, that was a little too glitchy, unfortunately, and unstable and hard. It was just a bit too hard. Like I found a couple of dungeons and I just got so lost in it. I know like there's hidden walls and things. It was too much to do on stream. I still think it's a really interesting game, especially to talk about the importance of virtue and the role of virtue, and presenting that in a video game. Like, and again, I think Magellar's video essay on it is fantastic. But anyway, that's what it is. So thank you so much for tuning in to Let Us Play. I've been your host, Father Evan. It's been good to be with y'all today, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Join us again tomorrow as we continue Minecraft. I went down and got some marble. Not marble. The white crystals you get in the nether. Anyway, I got a bunch of those, so we'll actually be able to do some more building and detail work, which is nice. Quartz! Thank you, Kit. Quartz. And then on Thursday, Siberia 2, I got it working. It's going to be fine. The audio is back. Took some interesting workarounds, but we got there. So yeah, and then there will be a bonus stream Wednesday night, probably around 8 o'clock. Be doing a bonus stream with P. Tony, playing Battle Block Theater. That's part of the showcase for Game of Favorites, because I'm on Game of Favorites this Friday. It's a poetry themed episode, so it should be fun. So yeah, so I think that's everything. So thank you again to everyone who's liked, followed, subscribed, given bits, all that good jazz. There's my emote. And yeah, let's see who's live that we can raid into. Gonna send you on over to Yuha, friend of the channel. He's playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I don't know what that means. Looks medieval. Raid call will be Father Raid, just as usual. Spam the meat morp or any emotes that you want. Yep, There's the UI emote that he does not like birds. Well, people are allowed to be wrong about things, I guess. If you want to say burr braid, I can't stop you. Anyway, hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Take care and God bless.